Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of my F1 23 MyTeam career mode. This is part 47 here in Canada. If you did miss the last episode, Lando Norris claimed a victory at Coda and extends his championship lead going into the final two races of the season. Unfortunately, it was a DNF for ourselves. We had an MGUH failure and put us out of championship contention, and even though we were running in the podium position at that moment in time, our teammate managed to pick up the pieces and he scored a podium for himself in Coda. As now we take a look at the weather here, it's going to be wet in qualifying, well, for a little bit at least, which is going to definitely make things very interesting in this session. So it's going to be all about trying to get that track practice and getting those qualifying times done early to try and make sure we can try and maybe, if the timing's right, get lap times done when it's still dry before it actually gets wet, and then hopefully try and time it perfectly as well once the rain has settled away. But before we get to that, we have to go through our practice programs here to make sure that we've actually got what it takes to be able to get through the weekend. So coming on to the race strategy here, we're going to absolutely nail it straight off the bat. No warm-up laps needed to try and get ourselves up to pace and immediately go to the top of the timings here with 3 perfect lap times. And coming out of the wall of champions here, we're going to cross the line, go faster again. Well, sorry, not faster again, but we're going to get a purple section here in our next practice session. So everything's looking very good here. Now starting our qualifying program here, Pierre Gasly is going to come out of the pits at a really awkward stage, and he kind of pinches us on the exit then, where you have to use a little bit of our tyre to get out of the corner and get past him before he holds us up going through the rest of this first sector. And unfortunately, that means by the time we get to the end of our lap, he's still going to be right behind us. Sorry, it's actually one of the Saubers right behind us, and we've not being able to get a good lap in because we were hampered that much at the start, and it kind of set the tone for the rest of our lap and didn't want to go out using those tyres again. So now George Russell leads the 2 Red Bulls, Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez is your top 3 here in practice 1. Our teammate P7 and ourselves P8. So it looks like we've got ourselves some half decent pace here this weekend here for the Canadian Grand Prix. Now we get ourselves prepped for this qualifying session. It's going to be a very interesting session. As I mentioned previously, we've got that weather that is looming around the place, so got to make sure we get in and do our laps quickly. So now coming to the end of our first lap, we get a lot of wheel spin coming out of the final corner there. And we're going to cross the line, and it's going to be P9, so we lost a lot of time going through this. Now, on our next flying lap, we go very safe on the entry into the final chicane there, and look at all the time we're gaining back, and it actually hasn't really improved us too much. I'm really surprised about that. Overall, it was a very good lap compared to our first lap. So now we're on some fresh set of rubber here because I really want to try and make sure we can get ourselves into Q2 at the very least, and we're currently sitting on the brink of it. We're currently sitting P16. Remember, in this series, the top 16 go into Q2. Our very next lap is another green lap, and we've only gone up into P15. As now we've had to use a 3rd set of fresh rubber here. And coming to the line here, this is going to be our final lap in this session, and I reckon we got ourselves through there. And you'll see Lando Norris leads the way ahead of Oscar Piastri. So it's a McLaren 1-2 in qualifying 1. Max Verstappen sits P3. Myself P10 and Alex Albon P12. And you'll notice there, we've got a 10-place grid penalty. So one thing I wasn't able to get in the recording, for whatever reason, the recording decided it didn't want to play game when I was coming through to edit. And we do have a engine penalty after our Coda incident for having to claim some more engine parts. As now we get into the thick of it for qualifying 2 here. And as you may have noticed, it is wet. The rain has arrived. So now we're just going to be trying to lap here and use up these worn soft tyres. We used all of our sets that were meant to last us into qualifying 2 as well. But now the rain's gone away now. And so we're setting some really rapid lap times here. Purple sectors galore. And we currently sit fastest. And that is going to be all for this session. Unfortunately, it's not going to be enough for us to make it into Q3. So Lando Norris leads the way ahead of Max Verstappen and Esteban Ocon is the top 3 in qualifying 2. Our teammates also knocked out and ourselves knocked out by 1.9 seconds.
We're back once again beside the St. Lawrence River here in Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix. The event first moved to the variant of this track back in 1978, and it was won by none other than Gilles Villeneuve, the first Canadian to ever win his home race, and in whose honour the circuit would be renamed. With top speeds of around 210 miles per hour heading into the overtaking opportunity of turn 13, the 2.7 miles of the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve are some of the quickest on the Formula One calendar. There are 14 corners in total, with 60% of the lap taken at full throttle, and average speeds clock in at about 130 miles per hour. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And Oscar Piastri completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Norris, Russell, Sainz, Leclerc, Ocon, Sargent, Liam Lawson, Hulkenberg, Gasly, Albon, Bottas, Magnussen, Tsunoda, Drugovich, De Vries, Iwasa, Stroll, the Rainmaster, and Zhou Guanyu. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. And with me today, of course, is Natalie Pinkham.
The key now will be to keep the right mindset. We've seen time and again that things go wrong if they just try to do the minimum. Not necessarily because of the pressure, but because it's different to their usual approach. They'll need to avoid that and stay focused today.
Alrighty, here on the grid for the strategy. You'll take note here, I have customized the default strategy. So the initial strategy was to start on the softs, go really long on the softs. I mean, like go to about lap 17 on the softs, and then go for the medium tires. And I am switching that up. I'm starting on the softs, making it a bit of a shorter stint. And then we're going to go onto the hard tire. I reckon the hard tire is going to be the one to be on. As you'll see here, a lot of people starting on the softs. You've got Zhou Guanyu starting behind us on the hards, and Stroll next to us as well on the medium. So unfortunately, it is going to be all the way back down here in P21. We're starting after having to take that penalty and also not qualifying very well. And it is just going to be a tough day in the office if we want to try and get ourselves some points to try and help the team out. We're not in any sort of championship battle at the moment, but we're going to do everything that we can to still get some points. As now the lights are lighting up, and it is lights out and we're off. And it's an absolute shocking start for Nick De Vries. And so we're going to go around him very easily. And we're going around quite a few people. We're going to make it 3 wide here, going down the inside into turn 1. And we jump over the curb. We're going to be able to go around the outside of Pierre Gasly as well. And that is going to be us up into P11 already. We're already up 10 positions by the time we get to turn 2. That is an absolute wicked start. Probably the best start I'm ever going to have on this F1 23 game. As now coming out of turn 9, we haven't had the greatest run. And now Pierre Gasly was looking to go around our outside. I mean, we've used that as an opportunity there to go down the inside of Liam Lawson, and that is going to get us now into the points before the end of the first lap from P21 on the grid. So an absolute rapid start for ourselves. So now we send a very audacious dive going down the inside of turn 6, and that is us to get past Esteban Ocon, and that's for P9. It's now we do a bit of an order check here. So it's Max Verstappen leading the 2 McLarens of Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, rounding out the podium. Then it's George Self in P9. Paris of Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. Logan Sargent, myself in P9. Esteban Ocon, P10, rounding out the points. Pierre Gasly, Liam Lawson, Yuki Tsunoda, Valtteri Bottas, Nico Hulkenberg, and our teammate Alex Albon, currently sitting P16. He hasn't been able to get too much off the start. Felipe Drugovich and Kevin Magnussen, Ayumu Iwasa, Stroll in P20, and that's Sauber. Nick De Vries, and then Zhou Guanyu rounds out the rear of the field at the moment. And back on board with ourselves here. We're going to be looking to try and get ourselves past Logan Sargent here. We're really good under the brakes coming into this turn 10 hairpin, going into the final sector of the lap, and we've had also a really good exit, so really using these soft tyres to a good advantage to ourselves. And with the power of DRS, we're going to pull alongside him going down the back straight, and it's going to be a really awkward move, but we're going to have to try and go around the outside coming into this chicane. We're still side by side as we come into the braking, and Logan Sargent very smartly backs out of it. I was not going to back out of it. I was well and truly up there, and I felt like I had the racing room to be able to get that done. As now, this is Oscar Piastri. He's looking to get himself possibly by Max Verstappen here to take the lead of the Grand Prix here on lap 6. He goes around the outside at turn 8. So a very unorthodox place to be trying to go for a move, considering that it's a very fast chicane in the end. but Max Verstappen very well does go up the inside at the hairpin. So they're going to stay side by side, but this is really bunching up that top 5 car pack here. So all the way from Piastri down to Perez, and you can see there in the background, I've caught up to the back of the 2 Ferraris, and they're also very quickly catching up to the back of this pack, as now they're looking to go side by side now, going through this final chicane here, going before onto the back straight. And look how slow they're going. They're just slowing each other up. So this is going to play very well into my hands here. As you can see, I've got DRS off the 2 Ferraris, and we have caught massively up to the back of pack. We can see them. They're right there. Went from being not even in our field of view to now we are a part of this pack. So we've now got about an 8-car pack here for the race win. As now they're going side by side through here, which is really slow. Carlos Sainz is super slow, and we're going to really cheekily use all of the track that was available to us. I was really expecting to see a track limits warning pop up there, but we get away with it. We get past Sainz, get past Leclerc within only a few corners, and now we're going to be trying to hunt down George Russell. We've got DRS to try and help us defend. George Russell's trying to go past Perez, but Perez slams the door shut on him, as we now head into the turn 10 hairpin here, and we're going to close right up to the back of George Russell, nearly actually run into the back of him, just because his pack's going so slow at the moment, because they're still trying to battle each other so hard. And now we get the better exit on George Russell. We're going to pull alongside him, get the DRS as well, for good measure to try and help us get this pass done. And we're still going to run side by side. I reckon this is going to be pretty much a repeat of the Logan Sargent pass that we did only a few laps ago. And it is, and we get the move done quite nicely here. But now George Russell is under attack from Carlos Sainz in that Ferrari, and George closes the door for Carlos Sainz, and I really thought Charles Leclerc was then going to try and take advantage here and try and get past Sainz as well. As now that's a yellow flag in front of us, so which one of the leaders? It's a McLaren going slow, and it is Lando Norris. Norris, the championship leader with only 1 race to go, and the championship's not sealed yet. He's had an engine failure, so he's not getting any points here. So this is all about Max Verstappen now. How many points can Verstappen get to try and close that gap? As now George Russell goes powering past us, actually. We must have had an absolute shocking exit compared to George Russell coming out of that final chicane. George Russell takes P4 back, but that is okay, because I reckon our soft tyres are starting to fade off quite a bit. We've been pretty much doing 11 laps of hardcore battling. Is now Esteban Ocon is trying to get himself past Logan Sargent here, and that's going to be for P8 on the road here. Is now taking a look. This is going to be a bit of an order check here, just to see how things stand before the pit stop phase is about to begin. So Max Verstappen leads Oscar Piastri and Sergio Perez for the podium. Then it's George Russell, myself, and P5, the 2 Ferraris, Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc, Esteban Ocon, Logan Sargent, and Pierre Gasly rounding out the points here. Liam Lawson, Yuki Tsunoda, Valtteri Bottas, Nico Hülkenberg, our teammate, P15, Alex Albon, P15, the 2 Williams of Felipe Drugovich and Ayumu Iwasa, 16, 17, Stroll 18, De Vries 19, Gio 20, and Kevin Magnussen rounds out the rear of the field. As now Oscar Piastri is looking really racy here. Is he possibly going to be trying to get himself past Max Verstappen? He's going to pull out using the DRS, and he's going to have the better racing line going into turn 1, and he's going to get the move done here. As now we jump on board with ourselves here, we're going to be pulling into the pits here. It's a very awkward pit entry, as we actually nearly rear-end George Russell there, because I can brake much later going into there than they can, but it's just really awkward pit entry here. As now we get ourselves prepped to be going onto these hard tyres. We get an optimal turn in, unlike last time where we turned in too late because I was too busy looking at other things on the DMFP, and we're going to drop out. I'm going to try and get ourselves past Drugovich here. Are we going to be able to get it done? Getting past Drugovich? Not quite. He's going to just have the inside on us, and we're going to have to slot in behind Felipe Drugovich, so hopefully we can dispatch him pretty quickly. And only a few corners later, with the power of DRS, we're going to pull alongside here, and we're going to try and use this as a superior, fresh, hard tyre grip to go around the outside, going into this. Now, we are on chicane, and we get the job done, and now, next on the list is Alex Albon. As now, we push him going through turn 5 there to get the dive done into turn 6 there. Very nice move. Just making sure that he got out of the way and we didn't make any unnecessary contact there. As now we drive past the pit lane, and we've jumped Max Verstappen. We've jumped quite a few people, actually, Russell included. So we are making very good progress here on these fresh tyres in a bit of clean air as well. As now Max Verstappen's looking to get himself past Valtteri Bottas as well. And that is Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri is in the pit lane. So where are we going to come into this? Are we going to be able to have an almighty overcut here and possibly try and get some moves done? And we are leading Oscar Piastri. He's going to be able to get us on the pit entry, pit exit here, and we have got it done. We have gone from P5 to the lead through the pit cycle here, and so we have paid an absolute brilliant strategy call. As now our teammate's under attack here from Charles Leclerc. Our teammate is yet to pit, so this is him trying to extend this medium tyre stint And Leclerc makes a pretty good move there, actually. Probably a bit harder than he was expecting it to be. But now that puts our teammate Alex Albon under attack here from Ocon in that Mercedes, who has made a pit stop and is on those fresh, hard tyres. And he just walks around the outside of him at turn 10. And that is our teammate now down into P8. Now Logan Sargent is looking to get himself back inside the points here after making his pit stop. And he's going to go to the inside at turn 1 on Liam Lawson here. But he's going to get the move done pretty much halfway through the braking zone. So in the end, a very easy move for Logan Sargent as Oscar Piastri goes around us. But I reckon I'm going to try and see if I can't stick with him. Oscar Piastri is by far the faster car than us. So I'm not going to try and defend that. I'm going to try and stick with him for the remainder of the race and see if we can't launch a late race attack. And we'll have to see how that plays out later into the video. As now Logan Sargent continues his charge back through the field after his pit stop, and that puts him into P9. As now Esteban Ocon is looking to get himself past Charles Leclerc here, and that is going to be for P7 on the road around the outside of the Monegasque driver. Is now back on board with ourselves here. We have done exactly what we were trying to do. We have stayed within DRS. We have stayed right behind Oscar Piastri right to the end of this race and managed to climb all the way up to the back of his car, going through that turn 10 braking zone there. We've closed up massively. We're dumping a lot of VRS. We've done lots of fuel saving, lots of VRS saving, and this is all coming down to it. We go around the outside of him at the chicane, and we drop it down in an extra gear here. We get a bit of wheel spin on the exit, but that is us up into the lead, and we've gapped him by some margin and coming to the line. We're going to take a last lap, last corner overtake to claim victory here in Canada. And now taking a look here at the replay of Oscar Piastri, he defended pretty much as anyone would, but unfortunately just got pinched on the entry to the chicane and just didn't have the drive off the corner to be able to defend me to the line.
They take the checkered flag then here in Canada in what has been another fabulous Grand Prix. Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Back in 2022, the new regulations came in with a promise of more wheel-to-wheel racing. That's exactly what we got today, and that has been the trend ever since their inception. Long may it continue.
The faces on our top three look so incredibly happy as they make their way up to the podium. A much-deserved victory and a brilliant performance from them all.
Well, there we have it. That was an absolute drive of a lifetime from ourselves to be able to go from P21 on the grid to taking victory at the last corner on the last lap here at the Canadian Grand Prix. And the gap to myself and Piastri ended up only being 0.7 of a second when we crossed the line, so a very close finish indeed here in this F1 23 MyTeam career mode. And unfortunately for Lando Norris, going into the season finale, he's going to be running off the back of an engine failure with Max Verstappen getting a podium, so the championship battle continues into the final round of this series. As now we take a look at the rest of the top 10. George Russell, Sergio Perez, Carlos Sainz, Esteban Ocon, Charles Leclerc, Logan Sargent, and Pierre Gasly rounds out the final points paying positions here, as unfortunately our teammate ends up P13, not quite be able to make his way back through the field. It's now Lando Norris leads the Drivers' Championship by 31 points for Verstappen, and the only way Verstappen is still in contention is because the next race is a sprint race weekend, so extra points on offer. Piastri third, 40 points behind, and out of championship contention. Myself, 4th, 60 points behind. Alex Albon, 10th, 170 points behind us now. In the constructors' standings, McLaren leads the way by 61 points to Red Bull. Ferrari sit 3rd, 162 points behind. And Brabham, we find ourselves 4th, 190 points behind the championship leaders, McLaren Racing. And now, that is going to be all for this episode. No upgrades, no R&D or anything like that going into the final race of the season and the final race of the series. So I hope to see you all in the next and final episode when we take on Brazil. So I'll see you there. See you later.